Hello. Um, went to see Jimmy Dore do a live show in San Jose the other day on Sunday, the 16th of October. And it was pretty awesome. Like the dude is funny. Like he acts like an idiot, like he's just funny because he's an idiot or something, but when you see him do his live thing, you can tell like how much control he has over everything. Like he really knows what he's doing. And so anyway, was good. It was very anti the thing and like it probably scandalized some of the people there because there was a few people with masks there. I mean, just a few out of like a couple hundred or more people, um but still, like I imagine, like I think it scandalized a lot of the people there. I don't know. I mean, hopefully less than half, but it just seemed like there were some people that were there not necessarily knowing Jimmy Dore's recent material and his recent positions on everything. Maybe it's just people who like to go to comedy shows at the improv. Or maybe they knew Jimmy Dore, back in the Bernie days, and so they're like, okay, yeah, I'll check it out, but they don't know how he's still going hard against the DNC. Um, so yeah, it was good. He definitely went hard against the DNC and saying how they're just as evil as Trump, and against Fauci and against all this type of stuff. So it was awesome. It was kind of like a political rally, and it was in San Jose, which is, so-called capital of Silicon Valley. So, it's kind of brazen. I mean, San Jose does have like freedom people in it for sure. Like for one thing, it just has hella people in it. So, I mean, it has like a million or maybe over a million people in San Jose, and then the surrounding suburbs are all like sprawl. So like the San Jose area, I would say is might be more like 2 million or something. um so grant it's kind of guaranteed that with that many people there's going to be at least some subset of them that is going to be different from the dissenting from the Silicon Valley oligarchs. um So yeah, I think they've been doing actions over there. Like that's like over the hill from me. Like I'm in Santa Cruz. And we've been doing stuff here, but mostly low key. Like we only recently started an actual like publicly listed kind of group. I think there was some other publicly promoted group before, but I'm not sure if that's still going. And I think it was maybe just opposing specific you know, things or mandates for schools or something like that. But I mean, luckily we never had like mandates for schools here. So, I think, I mean, I don't know if the state might have mandated it for teachers. That might be the case. I'm not sure. But at least like the city and county of Santa Cruz, to my knowledge, like they didn't mandate anything other than lockdowns and indoor masking. But which are still fascist and everything, but um to mandate that. But yeah, so they luckily Santa Cruz, the most leftist county in the Bay Area, is the least fascist. But I think probably because Silicon Valley was more fascist, like I think they really had vaccine passport, or like I think so. And I think they like mandated it. They might have mandated it at the schools for at least high schools, or I don't know. I think they had more, like they weren't the, I don't know if they were the worst. Like I think San Francisco was probably worse, and Contra Costa was probably worse, and even San Diego was worse in some, or I think they were worse in some ways, but Silicon Valley was bad, and of course it's the epicenter. In many ways, it's the epicenter of all this because Silicon Valley is largely what's the face of all these policies and all the misinformation and everything, because they most people are online. I mean, for people who are like, for the boomers, they still are watching TV, a lot of them, so they get it from like the media. But for all the people that are mostly online and not watching TV, then it's Silicon Valley that kind of shapes their experience of all this. And it's Silicon Valley that kicked me off of Twitter and Facebook for talking about these things, and deleted my videos on YouTube for talking about these things. So it's Silicon Valley that is arguably the at least as culpable as like anybody else involved in this. Um, so yeah, so it makes sense they have some people doing a spirited opposition in the valley there. Um, but yeah, so it's like there's like 200 people there at the San Jose Improv, or that's what I'm guessing because it seemed to be full, and somebody told me it's 200 capacity. Um, and I couldn't tell if he got any hecklers. Like there was one point where there's a couple points where some people were kind of yelling stuff towards the stage, but I couldn't tell if they were yelling things, heckling, or in support, or just yelling out something. Like, I mean, Jimmy kind of had to like shut one person up that was like stood up, that was in like not the maybe close to the front row, and they like just they stood up and started just like talking and trying to give some monologue or something. I don't know if it was pro or anti or what, but Jimmy kind of like stopped him, and he's like, if you want to if you want to do this, you got to write your own show and get your own venue and stuff. But anyway, so I don't know if that person was heckling or not. But in general, it was like, there was a lot of people that were super enthusiastic. Then there were some people who seemed a little like uncomfortable but semi-enthusiastic. I mean, I hope not, but there might have been some people who were just uncomfortable because maybe the people with masks who didn't really realize like what the show was going to be about. Um, but he wasn't a dick about it. He was just like making jokes and talking about the fascist policies and the misinformation and everything. So like he was saying, like, he's like, this is what they fear. They fear people like us coming together, every kind of race and age and gender and whatever, people who are just sick of being fucked over by the ruling class and by the government. That's what they fear. They don't fear like just some typical partisan type of activism or politics or whatever. They fear like people building bridges and just people coming together on common ground. And that even probably conservatives, like he was saying, there might be some Republicans and whatever, like, I mean, I know that there's a lot of Trump supporters who watch his videos because arguably they either dominate the comments section or at least are very well represented in the comments section. Um, but then again, I think Trumpers just like to leave comments, and there's just a lot of Trumpers. But But yeah, so hopefully there was, I mean, even we went, the people we went with, I I basically got 4 tickets for my friends and for my mom was gonna go and check it out. But my mom got sick, caught a cold in like New Jersey or something. So so I found another, person in the local freedom community in Santa Cruz to go. Somebody who was into Jimmy, and that guy, he's a Trump supporter, basically. I mean, he's not without nuance. I mean, I think he does recognize that Trump is flawed, but he still sees him as like the best option or whatever. Um, so and then there's me, and then there was like communists there. There was people tabling out front that were like either they were some kind of Leninists, so maybe they were Trotskyites or something. I don't know. I just can't. It's hard for me to take seriously like state communist people, who really think like the communist governments are like the the answer or whatever. Like, I mean, I definitely believe that they're overly demonized, like the US had no leg to stand on to demonize the USSR or Mao or anybody because the US has done like as bad or worse things that those governments did. Um, but I also don't think those governments are great or that they're, super pure socialism. I'm sure they have some socialist policies, but so does Biden, so did Trump, like um so but they were cool. I mean, apparently they got attacked by anarchists, so-called anarchists at some event recently, uh, because they were against the war in Ukraine. I think that's why. It was some so-called anarchists that were basically just shilling for NATO and have like physically attacked them there. And I think maybe my friend Keith McHenry that went with us was there at that time or knew about that. So he knew them. So we had like a nice talk with them because, like I was like saying like that I was telling them I'm critical of some aspects of like Marxism and communist governments and stuff, even though I agree with Marx on like a lot of things. Um, I was explaining that, especially in this last couple of years, the so-called socialist governments have not acquitted themselves that well in terms of their response. They basically just went along with whatever the World Health Organization told them to do, and it seemed like any independence they had just goes out the window when it's something medical. I mean, they did make their own jabs, but I'm not really sure how that actually worked out because a lot of them used at least China and I think maybe Russia, like, and maybe Cuba too. Like, they made the jabs, but they made it using the spike protein. So, anyway, I can't go into detail about the implications of that, but I don't want to get deleted on here. But basically, I was just saying that I no longer trust, like as a socialist myself, like I don't feel like any of those governments really represent me or are standing up for me or for global, socialism. I feel like they're cucked, they're controlled, whether they know it or not. They're basically controlled and they don't mount like a serious challenge to like the global ruling class. So, whatever. I mean, I'm not saying whether they're not better or worse or what. I don't really know, but I'm just saying they're not they're not amazing. They're not like the heroes that we would want them to be. But it was cool that those communists or, Leninists were like, because they seem to be like super pro, like socialist governments and, um, you know, but they were cool with, at least, I mean, I think there was a girl there that seemed to be giving me the stink eye though, but for the most part, they were pretty cool about it. So, um, like she was saying, oh well, they didn't follow the World Health Organization. They made their own, vaccines. But I was explain then I had to explain to her about the spike protein and all that. Um, or at least, briefly. So anyway, but that was interesting. That was like when we got there, and we were like some of the first people there, so we got near the front. Um, and so I know that they saw me. Like I know Jimmy and his wife like saw me because they both like Steph did a bit first. She does like the opening act, and then he came on. And so I was not only like near the front, I was kind of like the second row, you could say, but there was nobody in front of me, I don't think. Because of the way things were set up, I think there was nobody. I'm not sure if there was anybody in front of me, really. There were people kind of in front to the right of me, but I don't know if there's anybody directly in front of me at all. Or if they were definitely not in the way. So, like, the way it was set up, like, it's a little bit like a stadium where the different levels go back are higher. So, so I was definitely very visible to the stage. Like, I was probably like, 10 feet from the stage, but also, I was loud as fuck. Like, I just like started, I don't know. It was just, I was clapping a lot. It was between like clapping and whistling for things that just were awesome and not necessarily funny, but just like things I very much agreed with and was thankful to Jimmy for having the balls to say that, to say it on stage and everything. Like, so I was clapping a lot, but I was also laughing a lot because he was fucking funny as fuck, like he did it. It's different from his YouTube show. Like he does like real bits, like where you can tell it's a written joke that maybe takes like 10 minutes or something. But you can tell he really knows what he's doing. Like he kind of plays dumb, but you can tell he knows he has the audience right where he wants him. Like he knows exactly what he's doing with the public with the, you know, with our funny bones. I don't know how to say that. Like he knows like how he's like affecting the audience and how funny he is even when he kind of plays it off cool or deadpan or something. Um so anyway, I was laughing my ass off. He was on fire like the whole time, like I mean, he almost seemed kind of tired when he got there because it seems like he's just flying everywhere. Like his shows before this were in Virginia, and then his next show is in Florida. And then he has a show in like California, and then he has like one in Texas, and it's like if you look at his schedule, it's pretty nuts. But he just was on fire the whole time, and he yeah, to me it was like a great political rally, show of strength to like be right in the heart of Silicon Valley and show that so many of us, I mean, it's not that many of us for how big of a city San Jose is, but still, like it would probably be hard. I mean, unless you went like for somebody really famous, but if you went kind of Jimmy Dore's level of fame, I don't know, it would be hard to find somebody that you could get 200 people that enthusiastic about, um, in some random place in San Jose. And like, and I think uh, partly I was so loud. I mean, it was genuine, but also part of it was to like, because you know, when you start clapping or laughing or whistling or anything like that, it emboldens other people to do it. So, like, and I could tell there were people there that were weirded out by some of the things he said, and we're like, clapping for some things, but then other things you could kind of see, almost see them just like cringe or just confused or whatever it is. So I was just trying extra hard to keep the vibe up. And so, because I know for a fact, like, there's a lot of times where I started the clapping, like, because it's easy to do that, honestly. Like, if you're in a place, if there's something where people really do like it already, but, a lot of people are not inclined to just start clapping out of nowhere, but if somebody else starts clapping, they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I agree. Yes, clap, clap, clap." And then they will clap. And so it's like there's so many times I've just done that. It's like just like a magical thing. I just clap and then, next thing there's like 20 people clapping or something. So I was doing that like the whole night. Like I didn't let the spirit lull at all, like um and I had a little bit of like liquid assistance. I had like a Lagunitas or something, IPA, just because I don't know, it has more alcohol. And I ate like 50 milligrams THC, and CBD, actually, a one-in-one edible, chocolate edible, which I almost couldn't get open because I was in the place. I was like, all right, Jimmy's coming on at 7. It's like 6:03 or something. I gotta eat this now. I rip on the thing, it's like tear here, but it's, there's so many of those things where you tear there and it doesn't open, it tears like too high or something. So yeah, it wasn't opening actually, and then I had to like get some scissors from like the staff of the improv, and I was hoping they wouldn't like be buttered or to scrutinize what I was doing with it or whatever. Um, but they did not. They were cool, so I ate my although I didn't feel like super high, I don't know. Like I think somehow the alcohol and the weed and all the energy, like adrenaline or something, like canceled each other out somehow, or they just blended together. Um, but and then I was hoping to meet Jimmy. I was hoping to meet him and give him my book because I was like, oh, it would be cool because I knew that he and Steph, his wife, were like getting into some like spiritual astrological stuff lately or something. So I was thinking like maybe they would be interested in the real like truth of ancient paganism. My book, The Beautiful West. So, but I fucking forgot it. Like, it was like the people, my ride, like Keith and his wife, like they are, I think they're married or at least partners. But anyway, they arrived earlier than I thought, and I was just getting out of the shower. So I really just had time to barely throw on clothes and grab my wallet and a couple things. And then it was only once we were driving I realized I forgot the book. I think I was focused on the weed. I was like, okay, does anybody else need like some edibles? And they're like, no. Okay. I was like, all right, we can go. So I forgot the book, but it might be for the best because I would have been just nursing that book the whole time. And like, we only got like a little table there that we were like drinking on and stuff. So it's not like there wouldn't have been a good place to keep the book the whole time. I would have been just like protecting it, trying to keep it clean just in the hopes that I could somehow give it to them. And at the end, like, I did see Steph out front and Keith talked to her. I was like right there next to them, but I didn't actually talk to her. Um, I don't know. I was like hovering around and thought maybe she would talk to everybody, but she kind of ended up moving around and talking to some other people. But whatever, I was just at least glad that Keith got to meet her because they're both legends. I mean, I think he's probably more of a legend than her, but and I'm not sure if she really understood because he told her he's like, yeah, I'm Keith McHenry, founder of Food Not Bombs, and so she was like, oh, cool, blah blah blah. But I don't know if she really realized the full import of that. I don't know how much she knows about Food Not Bombs or I mean, to me, he's a fucking one of the most legendary people alive because he started a, organization that basically does what, Christians are supposed to do, feed the hungry and house the homeless and, clothe the naked and all this type of stuff and actually managed to successfully spread it to like, a lot of different countries and cities and everything. So yeah, that was cool too. I was the only person who saw that meeting of legends and knew who they both were, uh, pretty much. So that was cool at least. Be there for a moment of history. But yeah, so maybe I could have gave her my book at that time, but I feel like she probably might not want to carry it around. I almost think that they might have mentioned that in a show that like people give them gifts and like it's hard to carry them. I don't know. I guess if anything, maybe I should try to mail them a copy or something. So anyway, that was fucking epic. Like it was like one of the funnest things. It was basically like flawless night. Other than that, other than like forgetting the book and not getting to meet Jimmy, that was kind of disappointing that he didn't come out at the end. Maybe it's because maybe there was some hecklers, so maybe he was just trying to avoid it. But but he kind of like I felt like he led us on because he was talking about different shows he went to where it's like, yeah, so I went to this show in Dallas and this show in, Fresno. So I shook hands with like 100 people, 200 people there, or 400 people. So I was thinking, oh, cool. He shakes the hands at the shows, but no, not at this show. But it's all good. Thanks for coming to San Ho, Jimmy. I know that he hadn't come here through the whole like last couple years that I've been really following his show. And the closest he ever came was Sacramento. So I was thinking maybe he figured the Bay Area was like too woke or too Faucist or something. And it probably was pretty awkward because like this venue, I'm sure like did all the regulations and they even have like in their website like it says, recommended to wear a mask there. Of course, like almost nobody did in this event, but a couple of people did. So yeah, it's definitely pushing the envelope and it was beautiful, we need to like feel our oats or whatever. We need to organize and be brave and not, hide away. I mean, some people can hide away, go off grid. That could be good too. But at least for me, like, I don't want to be cowed by these, fascists. So it's good to like be able to get together with my people and be brazen and outspoken and not have to fear, not have to cower in the shadows. So that was cool. I think my phone's about to cut me off, but usually does at like 30 minutes. But another cool thing happened if it doesn't cut me off first is that I accidentally ordered a bunch of my book from Amazon on, I think, their Prime Day somehow, even though it seems like it wasn't their Prime Day because I think their Prime Day was the next day, but maybe it's like a time zone thing. But anyway, I've only been going on there and ordering every couple months or every month or something. So it just happened to be the day that I got home from the East Coast and I just went on Amazon. I didn't know anything about the Prime Day. So anyway, I ordered like a bunch of this book of my book, like one of the versions, because there's a bunch of versions. And I was assuming they seemed really cheap, cheaper than normal. So I was assuming it was the black and white version. So I ordered like 18, 19 copies. Turn out it's the color version. And it came for like basically like $6 a piece, including shipping and tax. which is amazing because it cost me like $100 just to print like one copy of my book in color on my own printer, just for the printing ink cartridges. So anyway, now I have like 25 or 23 copies or something like that, and then I have some more cheap ones coming in the mail. And I finally made some versions that actually have text on the front and back and don't have the glitch of the magenta version where it has like weird black squares where you're supposed to write the author section, which I didn't write. So anyway, yeah, so I did a new color version and a new black and white version, both of which are arguably better than all the other versions because they actually have not only an image but text on both the front and the back. So that's good. I'm pretty stoked. That's like the one great luck other than getting to see Jimmy Dore, just like getting, because, even just these books normally, if I order my book, the color ones, they're like $20 each. So I got like